part of the world. It's everything from military to economy to society. So we are grateful that you joined us today. And it's my pleasure. Thank you for hosting this. You did a great job as head of the Freedom Caucus, and as always, you did a tremendous job. Conservatives, right around you, your vote speak, and it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for your time and there. So, well, I wanted to start off today with our Homeland Security Secretary. Here's a fellow that has really got some problems. You've been down to the border, I know, multiple times. But let's talk about. Let's play this clip of Secretary Mayorkas testifying.
So you said that the borders closed. So you said that the borders closed and secure. You've said today you're following every law. You understand, don't you, that the law, Secure Fence Act of 2006, you're in total violation of that. Operational control. You don't have the border under operational control, do you? Section 2. What does it say? It says in this section, operational control means the prevention of all unlawful entries into the U.S., including entries by terrorists, etc. You're not preventing entries. You're fomenting entries. You're encouraging it. You're either accepting the Biden administration, and if that's the case, then you should be impeached. If you disagree with the Biden administration's program, you should resign. That's where we are.
Andy, as you've seen during the testimony that Mayorkas gave, one, this was pretty obvious. This is a deliberate attempt, well, not attempt, because they're coming across the board. The man does not know truth when asked any question, particularly if he said, I don't know how many times, the border secure. When I asked him, if that's secure, what's not secure? And it goes off of him like a war off the other side. Your question about the statement about him resigning, he should resign. What he's doing in this country is illegal disinformation. What he's doing to our young people with the fentanyl, with the drugs coming across. And for him to blame this, at what point during the hearing that you and I were, he blamed it on the Trump administration. The last 12 months of the Trump administration, we had 589,000 people having 14 months. What you said was right. What his non-response was basically keeping the same thing. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a couple of numbers, and I'm going to ask you for some entities. In March 2022, there were 220,000 encounters. That's this year. And an encounter means somebody who's either surrendered or we've arrested. That's an encounter. In March a year ago, it was 173,000. And then on the last year of Donald Trump, it was 35,000. And just to give you a feel for this, the entire last year of Donald Trump, 2020, the U.S. sector had 9,000 total encounters. This 6 months, it's been 200,000 encounters under Secretary Mayorkas. What can we do? What should we be doing to reduce those numbers of illegals that we actually encounter? We're not even talking about gotaways. We're just talking about the encounters. What can we do? So the simple answer that they refuse to acknowledge is build a wall. It's painful. What you steal, and you and I have seen later on Friday, the contractors that they're still paying not to put the wall up. You build a wall, you secure the wall. You have designated points of entry. But for him to keep, this is a plan of this administration. You get new people in this country as they possibly can. And then to the rest of the public, give them a driver's license, like they did in the Google. They have hundreds of thousands on the road. That's their plan, to keep power. It's all about power in this administration. And the sad part, Andy, I don't know how you reverse it once. The people that were on the plane in McAllen that had the cardboard don't speak the language. being flown by high tax dollars all across the country. I don't know how you unwind that. It's unfair to our young people, it's unfair to our police departments. I mean, how do you stop a car that you don't know who's in it, that you don't know what their background is, that you don't know anything? You don't do that. But the simple answer, you build a law. If you really want to get serious about it, that designate what's the issue by President Trump. So we have something called Title 42. So last month, 203,000 people last month, something like that. Of those, 80,000 of them were released to the country, just released to the country. We turned away probably about that under Title 42. And now Title 42 is set to go away about 2 weeks now. What is it going to look like when Title 42 is? I think you heard Mark, the fact that what you're going to have is like a man that's dying from a gunshot wound. He's just going to die quicker because when you eliminate the Remain in Mexico policy, it's going to open the floodgates. The estimates that I've heard are close to 589,000 per month. Yeah. And to put some perspective into that, the two colleges in my state of South Carolina Clemson in South Carolina hold roughly 79,000 people. That's 5 stadiums of illegals coming into this country, unfettered, not knowing how many terrorists are included with that. And so that's the bottom line. That's what's going to happen. And it's just going to put it on steroids.
Yeah, sure. And in last year, the last fiscal year, we always hear, well, you don't like Mexicans. I mean, that's what they say. That's not true, of course. But here's the deal. In Yuma, for instance, when I go down there, last time I was down there, rolled up on 2 separate groups, one with 50, about a mile and a half down further, another 50 or so. Not a single person from Mexico or the Northern Triangle states, which are the Central American states. But we had Cubans, Haitians, you had Uzbekistanis. So you have 157 different nations. It isn't anymore about even dealing with Mexico and trying to cut a deal with Mexico. This is people from all over. There's people that have been engineers. There are people that are bank managers we've run into, people who own shops. Why are they coming? Why are they coming now instead of maybe under Trump?
Well, as you say, when you take the position that all Americans should take is we want to have immigration, but legal immigration. We're a nation of borders. You cannot allow everybody to come into this country unfettered, not knowing anything about it, and then expect good results. I don't know how the school systems are going to handle an additional 15 to 18 million people when this is all said and done. I don't know how the hospitals are going to handle the influx of people. I don't know how all the groups, and I counted one time, in America, there are like 150 agencies that dole out our tax money that are going to get a part of this. I don't know how the municipalities are going to deal with this. So this is insanity. I'm hopeful the states will take it. Each will attempt to do something, as Texas has done. We're all border states now. This isn't an Arizona problem. It's not a Texas problem. It's not a New Mexico problem. It's an American problem.
It's a real problem. But this administration has not only destroyed the border, they've basically destroyed and dismantled so much of other aspects of our lives. So let's take a look at another clip right now, and let's take a look.
Take any responsibility for the inflation in this country? Do you take any responsibility for your policies?
I think our policies help, not hurt. Think about what they say. The vast majority of the economists think that this is going to be a real tough problem to solve, but it's not because of spending.
Detachment from reality It's a blame game. He's the leader of the free world, Andy. He's the leader of the free world, making that kind of statement. It is a embarrassment. It's he probably read that across on the teleprompter. But name me, to take the position that is everybody else's fault. It's his policies that are causing this.
Yeah.
It's his policies, from inflation that everybody's feeling, and it's not just gas. It's baby formula that you and I talked about
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
It's food. It's supply shortage. I'm in the construction industry. I would not start a house now because you can't get the parts. Name me, go buy any new car lot and see if you see any more than a handful of new cars. They can't get the chip. We're so dependent and sold out to China. And we've got to make some kind of changes to get self-sufficient, producing things here.
Yeah. So you have inflation, 8.3% in April, 40-year high. Gas. Everybody that goes to the pump, I freak out. I can't believe how much it costs to fill up your car. Because everything else, when you're building a house or you're building anything, everything's trucked to go up for transportation. Labor costs are going up because there's a shortage of labor, but not just a shortage of labor. They want more money because they need more money to offset the inflation to this crazy rate of this inflation spiral. What would you say what would be the number one thing you would do if you could try to address inflation?
Well, like you said, when Trump left office in January 20, it was 1.24%. As you mentioned, it's 8.6. We haven't seen the end of inflation.
Right.
It's scary to think about what the number and what inflation means to the everyday American is paying. As you mentioned, not just gas, is every product that you buy now has got a factor that there is a breaking point in my world. There's a breaking point that you can pay people. First thing, you got to get Americans back to work. You can't pay them to sit at home. Secondly, you've got to be independent and start opening up the factories that are mining the raw materials in Arizona and other parts. Thirdly, you get the oil flowing.
You got to get that energy, right?
Get the energy.
Yeah.
And until we do that, and it's not that hard to do, but he stopped so many things to ramp back up to get oil out of Canada, to drill in Alaska. You don't just turn a switch on. And Americans are going to have to feel the pain for the foreseeable future. He just is not going to do it. This is a plan of his. But you do that. The oil sector, energy sector is what you do to jumpstart the economy now more than ever.
Yeah, because you brought up a good point. Our economy has been contracting for the last several months, including 1.4% last month. So you got a contracting economy. At the same time, you got inflation on the rise. We're not the only contracting economy in the world. We're not the only country that's feeling this. But this is policy driven, right? This is Biden's policies, and I think I agree with you 100%. We could solve this. First of all, by getting rid of that scarcity of oil and gas and the energy. That's where I think you need to be going first, because you will take a lot of that price pressure off on all consumable goods by doing that. And then we got to get our house in order in Congress, because you can't keep devaluing your currency by borrowing money and spending like there's no tomorrow. And that includes like $40 billion just the other day on that Ukraine spending bill, right?
The $40 billion vote to send it to Ukraine was the most sad vote to see. That only 57 Republicans went with it, voted against it. The vast majority of others support it. We don't have the money. You get an uptick in interest rates, which they're going to have to do. What's that going to do to the national debt?
Yeah.
And it's going to put us in a recession, which they're predicting now. Everything is just excuses, Andy. And as I tell people, votes matter. Who we put in office matters. And now the Americans are feeling, when you ask the question, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I haven't heard the response of one person that says they're better off, right? Because they're not.
Yeah. So let's take a look at another clip, because you joined me at a hearing this week. Let's watch it.
every American needs to know what not only y'all have gone through, but to see these facts. I was listening to Kash Patel, and Dan, you mentioned the role of the FBI. He was talking about the 42 known terrorists on the watch list now, that to track them, and I think he had done this, it takes 60 people to track them. That's the role of our government, instead of going after what you're doing. And I assume you've been banned like Babylon Bee and God knows who else.
We are banned on Twitter. Project Veritas is banned on Twitter. I'm banned on Twitter, and Instagram does not allow the user to tag us.
Abused by DOJ and FBI. What did you take away most of that hearing? What'd you think?
When I had James O'Keefe say that he was met with agents with a battering ram to get into his apartment, take his phone, basically rifle through everything he had. When you had Cheryl Atkinson say, she was a CBS reporter, say that there were dark powers that were going to put child porn on her husband's laptop. They have a young child. A career-ending episode, thank God it never happened. It shows you our government, we can't trust at any level. When you have what happened to those two people, when you have the banning of information, and I don't care what it is, American people have a right to get information and make their own minds up. But for them to be banned, to have Babylon Bee, which is a satire organization, banned, to have Donald Trump banned, when you can look and get any type of pornography on the internet, you can see God knows what, and then to have its targeting of Americans, mainly conservatives, who they want to, this government is working against. And my reaction then and now is scary what our government's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's somebody like Cheryl Atkinson who won Emmy Awards for her investigative reporting. She's the one who broke the Fast and Furious scandal under the Obama administration, and the reward for that is all of a sudden the federal police apparatus is spying on her and is going to put some evidence on there to give a predicate to investigate her further and maybe even bring criminal charges. This is a problem. What do you see us needing to do legislatively to try to bring these agencies back into their real mission, which is to protect our rights?
A couple of things. We got to encourage the Cheryl Atkinsons to speak out. It's brave for them to do what they're doing. Part of this punishment is to silence people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, when we get back control in Congress, have meaningful hearings. Bring Mayorkas in. Ask tough questions on the cyber breaches that we've had. Bring people in and hold the FBI accountable and ask them tough questions as to why these people singled out when Hunter Biden is getting by with everything known under the sun, not just with the government, but with the media. When have you heard a report of any substance that reports if it were a Donald Trump son or family? So we got to have meaningful hearings. We've got to encourage other people to speak out, and we've got to stop this harassment and hold government officials, the bureaucrats who are doing damage to this country. We've got to hold them accountable, get them on at the hearings, and demand answers. Subpoena power would be great.
Yeah. So let's watch another clip, Ralph. This is something you're interested in.
A Disney executive in charge of content said they wanted at least half of the characters in its productions to be LGBTQIA+.
Critical race theory has become one of those hot button issues that the Republicans and other, disinformers who are engaged in disinformation for profit, frankly, there are plenty of, media outlets that are making money off of this too, have seized on.
You're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly. We're coming for your children.
his comments. And, so you're leading the charge on that. What are your thoughts on Nina Jankowicz? She's this strange choice to be the head of the new bizarre authoritarian Ministry of Truth under Secretary Mayorkas.
Disinformation.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be the head in the office of disinformation. There's not one administration that has put out more disinformation than the Biden administration, everybody that they put in office. Strange is a good word, Andy. The letter to Disney is the wokeism that they're trying to, I assume, please their stockholders. I'm glad the consequences of what Ron DeSantis did to take the special tax status away from them have consequences for them. They're not. Why did they wage into this battle? Whether they were getting urged from the far left, which it had to be, but why they responded like they did, we hadn't gotten the response back. You were great and others to sign on, but we've got to do more than that. We've got to follow it up with letters and keep letters. Their response is to basically stonewall us and not give any kind of response. That's not acceptable.
And the market really kind of weighs in on it, because we've seen the market cap of Disney drop by 36 to 40% since they decided that they were going to be the wokest place on earth. And so, I mean, it is amazing to me. But Ralph, just these few minutes that we've had together, we've been able to talk about every attack that the Biden administration and the leftists in Congress that support them have made on the United States and all of our institutions, whether it's the wokeness at the board, corporate boards, the school boards, the inflation that's killing us, the surveillance state with the Ministry of Truth that's going on, the surveillance state with the attack on the media, the weaponizing of our police agencies and state agencies. I mean, this is a massive attack on the institutions of the United States of America. And so I'm going to give you the last word as we wrap up. This is going to be hard for them, folks. Ralph, give us an optimistic view of where we're going. How are things? What can people hang on to and have hope with as we sign off here?
Here's the hope. As I tell people, there's always hope. The American people have never faced what we're facing today. We've almost had an unseen enemy that you and up here in Washington, D.C. And the hope we have is people getting involved at all levels, like the Loudoun County mothers. If you don't think people matter, look at the two housewives, mothers who got involved. They were tired of hearing their school board, who, by the way, is supported. They wouldn't get a paycheck if it were not for moms and dads sending their children to the public schools and paying taxes. But no, I'm optimistic that people getting involved. I'm optimistic that people are putting their name on the line. I'm optimistic that, as we've always done in America, is rise to the occasion. If we don't do that, my question is, America, where do you go? Name me a country. Name me one country that you go to. And I think there's the hope, and it's in people. And I want to let people like you, other conservatives and this isn't a Democrat-Republican problem, it's an American problem.
Yeah, folks, Ralph Norman, good friend, great congressman from South Carolina, does so much to advance the America First movement. You can find Ralph on Twitter at Rep. Ralph Norman, at least for now he's on Twitter. On Facebook at Rep. Ralph Norman. We'll continue to release these episodes of our visual podcasts on my social media. And if you want to download some of the podcasts we've already done on Twitter at Rep. Andy Biggs AZ, Instagram at Rep. Andy Biggs, on Facebook, Congressman Andy Biggs, biggs.house.gov. For just the audio version, you can go to Spotify on What's the Biggs Idea? That's the name of this podcast. Or you can go to Apple Podcast on What's the Biggs Idea? Ralph, keep it up, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for doing this. You're a true patriot. It's an honor to serve with you.
I feel the same way about you. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us.